Sadhguru wants you to believe that the purpose of life is to be entertained by the idea that you and God are one. Here are my thoughts. Okay guys, so in this short video, I want to share my thoughts on Sadhguru and his views on the purpose of life. Now, just before I do this, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you're up to date with all of the regular content that I'm posting on the channel. That being said, what I want to discuss today is Sadhguru's views on the purpose of life. Now, if you guys don't know already, Sadhguru seems to be this new age spiritual leader who's quite popular amongst the West, very popular online, and he basically talks a lot about the purpose of life and sort of spiritual things. But the reason I wanted to speak about his views on the purpose of life is because when it comes to the purpose of life, this is a very, very integral question that every single human being asks and that we're in search for. So it's important that we are going in the right direction when it comes to this question. Now, what he does, and before I share my thoughts on it, let me just play you his clip on this particular issue.
And is there a God-given purpose? What if God does not know you exist? No, I'm just asking by chance. I'm saying in this huge cosmos for which God is supposed to be the creator and the manager of this 100 billion galaxies, in that this tiny little planet and you, suppose he doesn't know that you exist, what to do? Possible or no? I'm sorry, I'm saying such sacrilegious things, but is it possible or no? What if he doesn't know that you exist? What if he doesn't have a plan for you? Suppose he doesn't have a plan for you, an individual plan for you. Don't look for such things. The thing is, the creation is made in such a way that creation and creator cannot be separated. Here you are a piece of creation, at the same time the source of creation is throbbing within you. If you pay little attention to this process of life, you would not need any purpose. It'll keep you engaged for 1,000,000 years if you want.
Okay, so let's quickly deconstruct some of the thoughts or the views that he shared. Now, first and foremost, he begins by suggesting or getting people to do a little thought experiment by thinking about the idea that maybe God does not know you exist. Well, he's created such an expanse, such a great universe, you are this insignificant creature, maybe he just doesn't know you exist. Now, straight off the back, something does not add up there, something doesn't sit right. How can the creator of everything not know what he created? It just doesn't really add up. Even as limited human beings, when we make something, we know what we made very well. But when it comes to God, we're saying that he somehow could not know what he created. In other words, we're saying he's not all-knowing or not all-powerful. And are these type of ideas even befitting of God? Right? So there are some problems there right away. And he does this to make his argument or to suggest the point, which is that there is, therefore, stop looking for God-given purpose. There is no God-given purpose. And then he moves on, and there's a shift here. Then he moves on suddenly to say that the creator and creation are one. That God in some way is a part of his creation and therefore you as an individual are God as well as you. Now, this is a type of a pantheism and what's problematic here, and what I would even say that this is quite a dangerous idea for especially people living in the 21st century. And the reason I say this is this. Us human beings, especially in the times we live in, we are conditioned to think only about ourselves already. It's a very individualistic society. It's about the self. It's about me, my benefit, my prosperity, what's good for me. We live in a very selfish world, in a world where the ego is being expressed already a lot. And it's already quite disastrous for the human being. But taking that type of human being who's coming out of atheism and maybe other types of materialism and naturalism and realizing, okay, there is a need for spirituality. Now you give them ideas such as that you are God or God is a part of you. This may be appealing. Hence, people are inclining towards these views. But just because something is appealing, it doesn't mean it's good for you. Now imagine this type of person who is already conditioned to think about the self and that in a very individualistic, egotistical type of way, now give this person the idea that he is God, it's not going to help the situation. It's going to make it worse, right? It's just not going to help these people in any way, shape or form in the long run. On top of this, another thing this is doing is when someone is suggested the idea that you are God and God is you, or God is a part of you in some way, and especially and this is delivered in a way to someone to tell them that they don't have any God-given purpose, that this is in some way the purpose is to know this and to reflect over this and to come to understand this. This is now cutting the human being off their true purpose. Every single human being, it is our nature to submit and to worship and to follow. We are looking for this. We are looking for our Creator. God created us with a very clear purpose. And in the Qur'an and in scriptures prior, but especially in the Qur'an, the final revelation from God, which is preserved and which is for the whole of humanity, not only for the Muslims or only for a certain group of people. These are misconceptions. This way of life, Islam, is for the whole of humanity. In it, God clarifies that God created us to worship Him, to know Him, to thank Him and praise Him, express gratitude to Him. And in doing so, the human being finds balance and finds peace and finds tranquility. And on top of this, finds true freedom and liberation, the very thing that we're looking for. How? Think about this. When the human being is not submitting to his Creator and worshipping God, he is submitting to one thing or the other. It may be other people, it may be other views, it may be money, it may be houses, it may be cars, it may be other material thing. It may even be themselves. The type of person that says, I don't worship or follow anything else or anyone else, is submitting to themselves. They are their own God. God says this in the Qur'an, have you not seen the one who takes himself as Lord? This type of person is worshipping themselves. But the only way the human being will truly find freedom from everything material and even themselves is when they submit to their Creator. And when they submit to the Creator alone, this frees them from everything else material and worldly. Yes, they use these things, they benefit from these things, but they realize they are not a slave to these things. And that is powerful. That is what the human being is really looking for. But ideas such as you are God and God is you cut the human being off of their true purpose and finding this reality and discovering this reality. Because once you start thinking you're God, you are a slave to yourself. You are worshipping yourself. Exactly what the Qur'an says. And these views will not lead to happiness or peace or tranquility in any way, shape or form. They may delude us and keep us entertained for some time and make us feel good and proud about ourselves, but they're not going to do any good. That being said, let me take this discussion to a more of a logical discussion and things just a point of reflection. Think about this whole concept of God being you and you being God. Can we even entertain, how can we even say that the Creator, who is perfect, God by definition, most of us would agree, hopefully, is that He is a perfect being who created everything that exists, and everything other than God is not perfect because it's creation. How could we say that a perfect being becomes a part of the imperfect? And if He somehow was to become a part of the imperfect, would He remain God? He would no longer be perfect because He is imperfect. How does that even make sense? How could we say that an eternal being who has no beginning, who has no end, as we've established in other videos, now becomes a part of the finite? If He becomes a part of the finite, is He eternal anymore? Does that even make sense? Right? All of these things just are not befitting of the majesty of God. God is the Creator. He is eternal. This is why in the Islamic tradition, what we believe is that God is distinct and disjoint from His creation. He created everything, but He is not a part of His creation. He is uniquely one. There is nothing like Him. I mean, think about it from a limited human perspective. When we make something, when you make a table, do you become the table? Or when you make a chair, do you become the chair? Of course not. Then how can we say such a thing about God? By greater reason, it just doesn't make any sense. So I really encourage people, those that are really sincerely seeking and searching for the purpose of life and what life is all about and who God is to really consider Islam. Because Islam is a way of life for the whole of humanity. You know, what Islam teaches us, what God has told us, is not only in line with our rational faculties, but it's in line with our nature. It will make sense on many different levels. And on top of this, like I mentioned already, when you submit yourself to your Creator, you realize and discover the purpose of your life and you start to live according to it, you will find peace and tranquility and happiness. You will truly be a liberated human being. Upon that note, I'll end. Those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts below. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to click the notification bell. And until next time, take care.